Hey everybody, Bob Cigar Guy here, Travelers Rest, South Carolina. And this is going to be kind of a story, kind of edutainment, okay? I can call it edutainment because if I call it education, that means it's something you have to learn or that has value. And if I call it entertainment, it has to be something that's funny and entertaining, right? But if I say it's edutainment, you can say, well, it wasn't that funny, but I learned maybe a little bit, or it wasn't that learning, but I smiled once or twice, so I can get away with it. That's why I call it edutainment. I like that word. But that's what this is. Like I said, I'm Bob the Cigar Guy, and I'm going to be smoking this Wagashi by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Made my number one for 2024. Fantastic, phenomenal, delightful, lovely get together between Steve Saka and Eric from Cigar Dojo, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Fantastic cigar. But I have cigars. I do. A couple at least. And I work at a car mill. And people find out, hey, you got a YouTube channel, you're Bob Cigar Guy? I said, yeah. And I always say, don't watch. You'll look at me differently afterwards. It's the worst content on the internet. And sometimes people still watch. But then it kind of gets around, and people will come up to me and say, hey, I've always wanted to try smoking a cigar. I've smoked cigars a long time ago. I'd really like to get back into it, and you know, this and that and the other. And so if I have some cigars around, which I do, I usually bring them in a couple cigars. But when I do, I ask them questions. I used to just bring them in cigars, give them to them. And then I found out through the years that they say, yeah, I smoke cigars, and they don't, or they didn't get skilled on how to get the best out of their experience, and they don't have a good experience because they didn't get that teaching. I know a lot of us fellers, and I've talked with some fellers at work about it just recently, that we don't want to act like we don't know what we're doing, and so it's hard to ask. And so I ask some questions. I say, so how many cigars have you ever smoked? Oh, couple, half a dozen. When's the last time you smoked a cigar? Cool. Can I ask you what cigar it was? Usually they won't know. All right. Was it dark or light? Was it flavory or did it taste like tobacco? Was it big or small? What'd you like about it? When you cut it and light it, how'd you cut it? Do you remember? What did you light it with, a regular lighter, or did you light it with one of them jet lighters, or one of them big torch lighters, or a tiki torch, or a flamethrower, right? And I try to ask them those questions so I can kind of gauge where they are in their adventure, so I can help best put them on. Because if you're a brand new guy or girl, I'm not going to go into the deep stuff of, you know, rotating cigars and dry boxing and things like that. I'm not going to give you all that stuff because it's overwhelming. But if you've been in smoking cigars a long time, or you used to smoke cigars a lot and you got out for whatever reason, or you want to get back in, we don't need to talk about all that. You already know all that, right? So I was talking with a feller, and he was in a hurry, and I handed him a cigar. He had asked me a couple times, hey, can I get a cigar? I said, sure, I'll get you a cigar. And so I gave him a cigar. And he said, yeah, I smoke cigars. Yeah, I smoke them. I used to smoke them all the time. I just ain't smoked them in a while. You know, budgets be budgeting kind of thing. And he was kind of, didn't want to get into learning about it. So I see him a week later. And I don't ever go up to somebody and say, hey, how was that cigar I gave you? Because then it feels like, and I'm really interested because I want to know, and maybe I can dial them in better. But it can come off as, oh, he just wants me to say thank you. And I can see that because some people will behave that way. I get it. That's not where my mentality is, but that's where some people's mentality is. And I can see how that could be a problem. So I just let it be, right? He said, hey, that cigar you gave me was busted. And I said, what? He goes, yeah. I cut it and it completely unraveled at the top. I know what I gave him. It was a great cigar. Solid manufacturer. Smoked tons of cigars out of that box. That box was almost empty. It's one of the reasons why I gave it to him, so I could clear a spot to put a new box in. So I said, so let me ask you a couple questions. He goes, yeah. And I knew the humidity was right, so it didn't bust. I said, did you smoke it? And he goes, no. He says, it came apart. And I said, oh, okay. I said, when you say it came apart, do you mean it just exploded like the cartoon cigars where they explode, or did it come apart like the top piece started to unravel? He goes, no, the outside started to unravel. I said, okay. So how big of a piece did you cut off the top of that cigar? And he goes, a little bitty bit. I said, okay. I said, what'd you cut it with? And he goes, he had a cutter, which I'm not sure. And I said, did you cut the thickness of 2 nickels, thickness of a nickel, thickness of a dime? How much you cut off the top? He goes, I didn't cut much off. I said, well, if you could kind of say, what do you think? What do you remember? He goes, oh, I probably took no more than 2 nickels off of it. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 nickels is there. What had happened was, I believe, I haven't seen it, what had happened is he cut too much of the cap off. And he didn't know. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done it. Lord knows I've cut caps off. I use V-cut almost exclusively forever because I would be hacking the caps off of them and they'd unravel on me. So I told him, I said, you still got the cigar? He goes, yeah. And I said, okay. So slide your band as far up as it can go. I said, you got chapstick, unflavored chapstick at the house? He goes, yeah. I said, well, take a little bit of that chapstick and just kind of rub it on that flap that's sticking up in the air, and just kind of put a little on there and use it like glue, and it'll work. And he goes, yeah. I said, it won't make it perfect, but it'll make it smokable. And smoke it. It's a good cigar. I said, let me know what you think. And he goes, okay. And so I started thinking about it. I wasn't offended that the guy said, you gave me a bad cigar. I wasn't. I wasn't offended that the guy screwed up the cigar. Well, he did not cut it to the best of its ability. I wasn't. I was kind of like, oh man, I missed my spot. I should have read the signs to see that he needed a little bit more help so that he could have a great, successful moment. Because I want him to have a great, successful moment. If I'm giving you a cigar, or I'm talking to you on this channel, I want you to have the best life possible. And if I can help you with that, I will. So I thought, there's a subset of fellas, and I'm one of them, that doesn't like to ask questions because I don't want to act like I don't know. But if I was by myself, I might be able to look at the information and glean for it myself, right? I'll do dumb solo, right? So I'm going to use a cutter. I'm not going to get on the details. This is not a big detailed thing. So I'm just going to grab, which is really easy to see, this little Calibri slimline cutter. Nice little cutter, pretty, right? But it's real simple. This is, hang on. That's the cap. You can see the cap comes down here. Now it's got one of them little pescado tails. Don't worry about that. That's the cap right there. Where it stops is way down there. But if you cut below this wrapper is going to unravel. If you cut close to that, there's a possibility that your cap will unravel and then this will unravel. You don't want to do that. Remember this. The rule of thumb is everything you cut off, you can't smoke. Shortens your cigar, shortens your time. So you want to cut off as little as possible. All you want to do when you cut your cigar is to make the top look like the bottom. The head look like the foot. That's it. So that air can draw through so that you can get that smoke in your mouth and enjoy your day. So, move, Mr. Microphone. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your cutter. You're going to take your time. You're going to take your time. You don't get in a hurry with it, especially if you're new to it. Don't get in a hurry with it. Take your time, right? Be easy. Be gentle. Get your cutter on there. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to set it on there and kind of look at it first and make sure that see how my cigar is 90 degrees, right? So I'm not cutting it cockeyed, slonky, wonky, or whatever, which some people will do, but it's not that big of a deal. If you do it, it's not that big of a deal. But all you want to do is just cut, and you just cut. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Look at that. How cool was that? It's like a magic trick, right? And so you got your cap. The sharper the cutter you have, the better it is. But I'll tell you what, if I don't have a cutter, I'll sharpen. I'll rub my cigar on a piece of concrete. I don't care. I just want to get air from here to here so that I can get the smoke in here and the joy in here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a draw. You don't slobber on it. You don't this and that. So if you have to go back for your cutter to make another cut, you're not getting it all nasty, especially if you're using a cutter from a cigar lounge. Draw's good. So if it feels like there's a slight tug, that's okay. If it feels like you're sucking through a McDonald's straw with a strawberry shake in the middle of May, June, July, you cut it again, right? Get a little cut and get a little bit more. But see, I've got tons of cap left here. It's not perfectly straight either, but not a big deal. So that's how you cut your cap. No big deal. You want to V-cut it, V-cut it. You want to punch it, punch it. You want to shirk in it. I don't know why, but you can shirk in it. You can do whatever you want to. Right? So now light it. We're almost done. I've got a matching lighter. Fancy. But any lighter will work. Zippos I highly don't recommend because you can get a little bit of that lighter fluid flavor, especially in the first little bit of your cigar. It goes away, but it just minimizes it. So if all you have is a Zippo, that's fine. Big lighters makes life really hard, but you can do it. Jet lighters, you can get them in a gas station. Then you get into your better lighters, your super lighters, your Calibris, your Cigars, your Jet Lines, your SC DuPont, your Ellie Blues. I mean, you can spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on lighters when all you want to do is set it on fire. I mean, I've got tons of lighters. I've got hundreds of lighters, and some of them are very expensive, but I don't need them. The lighter I usually grab is a cheaper lighter. Be honest. It's nice to have things to accessorize. It is, but it's not necessary. So, single jet, right? You can go all the way up to a quad, and I'll show you one of those in a minute. But especially with a smaller cigar, or when you're first starting out, or a lighter wrapper, you really want to take your time. And so what I'm doing is I am lighting. This is important. I've got the cigar at a 45-degree angle, and I've got my lighter kind of pointing into it. Right? And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to light the middle to the top. Why? Because any flame goes over it, it goes up in the air. If I light from this side and I allow my flame to run here, it's going to burn and scorch up the side of your cigar, which will cause you wonky burns and make it look ugly. So what you're doing is you're lighting this and this. And now I know your question is, Bob, then you only have a half-lit cigar. You're absolutely right. Because I'm going to toast this heifer for a while. I'm going to take my time. I'll get it good and red. See if I can turn it a little bit. You can see. Get it good and red. But then I'm going to, turn the cigar, right? And so now I'm still lighting the same area. I've just moved the cigar. So I'm now lighting the other side that wasn't lit before because it was at the bottom. And I'm going to do all of this and all of that. Now, you can put it in your mouth. You can puff on it. Most people do. I don't because I have a better chance of scorching my wrapper. And also in doing the reviews that I do, it doesn't look as good to put the cigar in your mouth and try and light it like that. I don't like it. And so I would get it good and toasty. Butane's not that expensive. I'll use it. And I would get that thing good and hot. Look how that is. That is good, right? I don't have to throw it in my mouth and hold it for a little watch. Now I have a camera in front of me, my phone, and I can see that it's all red. But if I didn't have a camera in front of me, I turn that thing around and I blow on it. And I look for black spots. If there's a black spot in there, I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to touch it up. Now, like I said, I've got singles, duals, triples, and quads. I've got a quad right here. Look at this thing. Look at that thing. That thing is freaking amazing, right? It's huge. This thing is a great lighter. I love this lighter, right? But if I'm lighting, if I'm teaching somebody new how to light a cigar and you use this, that flame is bigger than the cigar. I mean, you have to be really aware. You have to be really careful. And I'm not going to give you a sledgehammer to drive a 10-penny nail. I'm not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest you go with something smaller. All right, this is single jet as well. This is the Tactical by Cigar. Nice little jet right there. That thing gets in there and it just does its job. Now, I don't know if it's just me and my ADD or whatever. Some people can just hold their lighter perfectly straight. Not me. I got to swirl that thing around, and then I just roll my cigar back and forth. And then I put it in my mouth and puff it. And it's apropos that I'm doing this video on a Steve Saka sponsored video, because Steve Saka has said, I'll never tell anybody how to smoke my cigar, but if I leave them one piece of advice, that advice will be toast your cigar well. Take your time. Spend some time toasting your cigar. Make sure the tobacco is completely toasted. Why? Because you're getting yourself into the mood, number one, but number two, you're giving that cigar the best opportunity to perform at its optimum efficiency for that cigar. You're getting all the tobacco hot, you're getting it all warm, you're getting it all ready to puff and to enjoy. So, from Steve Saka to you, take your time. I like to take my time a lot, and when I want to do it right, I like to take my time to do it right. Mr. Rogers. So, I'm not going to get into tempo. Don't smoke too fast. If it starts burning kind of wonky, slow down. If it starts to get bitter, slow down. We'll get in touch and relights another day. But that's just, this is kind of a video just to kind of say, hey, we don't have time to talk. The car's about to start running down the line again. You know, go check out that video real quick. I kind of go over how to cut and light a cigar. If you have a better way, honest to goodness, teach me, tell me, leave me a comment, let me know. If I covered it well, teach me, tell me, comment, let me know. If you've got stories where you've helped other people into this lifestyle, tell me, comment, let me know. And I'll see you later. I love you. I really do. Later, Tater.